So Colorado, huh? Are you thinking about joining the masses and moving to the 7th fastest growing state in the United States? Well, I'm assuming if you're watching this video that you are, or maybe you already live in Colorado and you just want to see my video and see if you really already have the things, the 3 important things that you need to live here. Also, I realize that 7th fastest growing state doesn't sound that like, whoa, 7th, like 7th is never impressive. But we feel it in Colorado. Since mid-2017, our state has grown about 80,000 people. 80,000 new people in just a few short years is nothing to sniff at. So we're a popular state to move to, we continue to grow, and you're watching this video because you really want to know what are these 3 things that you absolutely must have before you move to Colorado. Well, first of all, welcome. My name is Genevieve. I am a Colorado native. I was born and raised in Boulder, Colorado, which I know gives me kind of an interesting perspective because Boulder is a bubble, as we like to say. But I've also lived in a lot of other places and traveled a lot, and I definitely understand that Boulder is not like the rest of the world. You can check out my other videos for some of my very strong opinions on Boulder. But Boulder residency aside, I have a lot of knowledge about Colorado in general, and I have found it really fulfilling to give you guys tips and advice and just like real world perspective on what it's really like to live here. So if you enjoy this video, if you get anything out of it today, please subscribe. I mean, you could, you don't have to, I guess, but you could. And also give this video a like. That's not an ask. That's a, you have to do it. Okay, I'm just kidding. I can't take myself seriously saying that. So now that you kind of know who I am and know that I really have no agenda, I'm not a real estate agent or anything like that. I just want to inform and entertain. Now that you know that, let's jump into these 3 things. This spoon, by the way, is a pointer in case I need to do anything with it. It makes me feel more important. So the very first thing that you must have if you're moving to Colorado is a car. And I know I can already hear the eco warriors out there saying that you don't need a car to move to Colorado. But here's the deal. Colorado is wide, expanses, and there is public transportation in the big metro areas like Denver and even Boulder, but it's not always super reliable, and most people are moving to Colorado because they want to have access to nature and to go to the mountains and to go on little trips in the summer and to go skiing, and to do all that you need a car. Now, I will say, to honor the eco warriors, that there are, especially in Boulder, a lot of people who don't own cars, and they are hardcore bikers 24/7. They're all seasoned bikers. I guess I should say cyclists because they're not motorcyclists, they're bicyclists. So there are some people who can make it work in a place like Boulder or an area where you can fairly easily bike to the store or use your bike to get from point A to point B fairly easily because you live sort of close to your job, or you don't mind biking to the grocery store, or you use delivery. There are definitely some people who do that. But the people who can really handle that lifestyle long term are honestly few and far between. And like I said, there is public transportation. So a lot of college students, high school students, and just some people, they will take the bus a lot of places. But the bus is kind of really our only public transportation. But wait, I can hear some people in Denver saying, what about the light rail? And yes, in Denver, we do have a thing called the light rail, which is kind of, I guess, it's like a train, like a subway, but not. It's like an above ground thing. But that really is only for people who live in the Denver metro area. It goes out to the airport too, and it is expanding, but still it's not, you need a car. You do. If you really want to enjoy the Colorado lifestyle to the fullest, you just need a car. You could have, if you have friends that could drive you places, I guess that's cool. But still, there's something about the Colorado lifestyle that really invokes a sense of freedom in people. I think that's why so many people want to move here, is because there's some sort of like freedomness a part of our culture. And freedom to hop pretty quickly between being at home in a metro area or a suburban area to the wilderness fairly quickly. You need to have your own car to do that. And there are a lot of eco-friendly options for cars. In Colorado, we are so big on the Nissan Leaf. We got a lot of rich dudes with Teslas. There are a lot of options for cars that go beyond just the gas guzzlers. So if you're moving here and you really truly want to be happy here and really feel this life, this Colorado life to the fullest, I really think you need a car. Trust me. Okay, the second, I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. Sometimes I just go into jazz hands. That's why I need the spoon. It keeps my hands still. So the second big thing that you really do need if you're going to live in Colorado, and this is going to upset some people, but you need a high salary. If you have watched any of my other videos about Colorado, then you know that I have some grievances about how expensive Colorado has become. The cost of living in this state is pretty dang high compared to a lot of other places in the United States. Maybe not as high as New York City or San Francisco, but honestly, it's like 4th or 5th down from those places. Just to give you some context, in Boulder, Colorado, which is one of the most expensive places to live in Colorado, it is solidly $1,500 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment in Boulder, Colorado. And again, I know I'm gonna get comments from people in California and New York being like, that's so reasonable. But in Colorado, it's just weird that this random Western state is just, it's just really expensive. And for even more context, the average home price of the entire state is about $480,000. And like I said in the beginning of this video, we are the 7th fastest growing state in the union. And that means that our prices are probably just going to slowly keep going up. Also, fun fact, do you want to know what are the 2 fastest growing cities in Colorado? You guessed it, the #1 fastest growing city is Denver. That seems kind of obvious. But the 2nd fastest growing city is Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs is having a boom right now, and it kind of makes sense. Both Colorado Springs, Longmont, and Fort Collins, those 3 areas in general are having kind of a boom right now because they were previously the cheaper-ish areas of the state. And so since some people are moving here and they don't want to move to rich-ass Boulder or expensive-ass Denver, they're going to those areas, but now it's making those areas also expensive. After the 2020 census just came out, a new statistic has come out that in order to live comfortably in the state of Colorado right now, you need to make at least $106,000 a year. So yeah, if you're not making 6 figures a year, you can't live comfortably in Colorado. And I know for some people watching this, they're like, I already make like 3 times that, so I'm like totally good to live there. And 1, that's cool, but 2, I kind of hate you because I'm not you and I can't afford to just randomly rent a place for $2,000 because I make so much money. And I also know there are so many people who want to move here who totally don't make anywhere near $100K a year and they desperately want to live here, and people are getting very creative about how they move here. Again, for context, I know in Boulder, you can have a roommate situation, but still have to pay between $700 and $800 minimum. I rarely ever see rooms for rent in Boulder now that are beneath $800 a month. So you do need to be making a good chunk of change in your life just to be able to afford to rent a room in a place in Colorado. So it's a piece of sad news that I hate to be the bearer of, but if you don't make that much money and you really want to live in this state, you might come here and really struggle because you're constantly trying to hustle to make more money just to afford rent. And then utilities are also kind of expensive. And then there's like state income tax and there's like other things. And it's gonna add up, and it could really stress you out if you try to live here when you're really not making that much money. But again, I resent that this state is becoming a luxury that only the rich can afford. Because like I said, I'm definitely not rich, okay? I may live in Boulder, but my situation is certainly not rich. And it literally breaks my heart that only, people who are working for big tech companies or people who just naturally make a lot of money, that only those people seem to be able to get an in on this state. It is a sad, unfortunate truth. So now we're moving on to my 3rd very important thing that you need to have to move to this state. But I laugh because I do have this trait, I think, but not all the time. And I don't know how else to say it, except that you need to have a go-getter attitude. And for some reason, I've just really struggled with like what else to call it except having a go-getter attitude. I guess I'm going to describe that as having a positive attitude, one that wants to be entrepreneurial in some ways and also wants to build, if that makes sense. I say that you need to have this because Colorado is a state of people who are very ambitious in general. maybe that's a better word for it. You need to have an ambitious attitude. I like that better. Go-getter sounds like too weird, cliche, like toxic masculinity almost. I don't know why I have that association, but so you need to have an ambitious attitude. In a lot of ways, it makes sense that Colorado is the 7th fastest growing state in the union because we do have this very like growth-oriented culture about us. And also, I want you to know I'm purposely trying to point out the positive because I have other videos where I address some of the negatives of our culture, again, mostly in my Boulder video. But it's definitely a positive of the state of Colorado that we do have this ambitious, go-getter, sort of growth-minded attitude, both as individuals and collectively. And that kind of makes sense. We're a state of wilderness exploring and an outdoor adventure and taking on new projects and breweries and startups and all of that. So it makes sense that having this ambitious attitude is a part of our culture. So if you're someone who really, really likes a comfort zone, you really, really like to lay low and not really do a whole lot, and there's nothing wrong with that. I definitely have days, multiple days, because I'm definitely a true introvert despite what you are seeing on your camera right now. If you're someone that's not interested really with engaging with the community in a wider sense, if you're not interested in the mountains or just doing stuff that's new and pushing your, your comfort zone a bit, then I don't really see why you'd want to move to Colorado. The fantasy that most people have for moving here is that they're going to get this new exciting life living by the mountains, doing new things like fishing and climbing and hiking and skiing, and all these things that are going to be new to them, and then maybe taking on new exciting jobs because there are a lot of exciting job opportunities here. So there's a lot of hope and fantasy and like cool stuff to do that'll get you out of your comfort zone, get you into a new life. So if you want to move here and then just basically do whatever your old life was back in Tampa, but you just want to do that exact same thing here, it's like save your money and just stay in Tampa. And I'm sorry, I don't know why I just picked on Tampa. I've actually heard that Tampa, Florida is actually a pretty cool place. I kind of want to visit there. So to recap, you need a car, a high salary that is at least $106,000 a year, and you need an ambitious go-getter attitude in order to move to Colorado. If you have those 3 things, you basically already have your Colorado citizenship. Just come on in. If you don't have 1 or 2 of those 3 things, but you still really want to move here, then yeah, get creative. Maybe you can be one of those cyclists that bikes everywhere to get everything and bikes middle of the road and annoys me as a car driver, or maybe you have a really sweet setup somewhere in Colorado where you don't need as high of a salary to live here because you got connections somehow, or family or friends that you can stay with, or who knows. But if you really want to not regret your choice to move to Colorado, then I would suggest that you have those 3 things. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, as I said, you are required to like it with the button on the screen. And also, I have a Ko-Fi account, so if you got any value out of this video and you would like to buy me a coffee on my Ko-Fi account, I love it and so appreciate it. The link for the Ko-Fi account is down in the description below. And if there's anything else that you really want to know about Colorado that I have not yet addressed, then please put in the comments below what your question is. I also have a lot of other videos. I have a whole playlist called Colorado Tips, so I might address your situation in a different video, but otherwise just ask away and maybe I can answer it. All right, thanks so much. Goodbye.